you know, this webinar is being recorded today as well, so we will share it to all who have registered for it afterwards. The format for today's webinar, while we're waiting, is, as I said, I'll give a brief introduction, then I'll be handing over to, my name is Louise Ryan, by the way, I am the host for today's session. I'll be handing over to my colleague, Stephen Farrell, who is Programme Manager of National Retrofit, and he will give a brief, about 5 to 10 minutes kind of overview of the one-stop shop service. Then we'll be handing over to Carolyn Ashe Brady from Core Retrofit, and she'll be covering a little bit about Core Retrofit. She'll be going through the kind of benefits of using a one-stop shop, what you as a homeowner can kind of expect going through the kind of the service from beginning to finish. Then we'll be chatting to our homeowner, Kieran Devaney, who has gone through a one-stop shop. So I'll be asking him just some questions, a little bit about his experience, kind of what his house was like before, what it's like now, the process, everything that kind of he went through, hopefully positive. And then what we'll do at the end is we're going to open it up to the panel and we'll answer all of your questions. So on the bottom right-hand corner, you should see an FAQ box or Q&A box. So you can pop your question in there to all panelists and we will select them then at the end. Any questions that we don't get through, what we'll do is we'll pull them out as an FAQ sheet and we'll send them around to your email address afterwards along with the recording. We'll do our very best to get through as many questions as possible, but as I said, there is a lot of attendees on today's webinar, so depending on how many questions we get, we mightn't get to all of them, but again, as I said, we'll do our very best. So we'll just give it another minute or so and then we'll kick off. So the webinar should take roughly about an hour. Stephen will talk for the first 10 to 15 minutes just about the one-stop shop kind of overview. And then, as I said, Caroline will chat a little bit more in depth about Core Retrofit and what you can expect when you go through the service. And then a little bit, we'll chat to Kieran then and see what he has to say about actually going through it as a homeowner. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes, we'll open up to questions. Yeah, so I think that's all the housekeeping. I don't want to delay anyone, so I might just hand over to you, Stephen. Do you want me to, I can move your...
No, am I okay to move it there? I think I'm okay.
Yeah, perfect. I will make you a presenter there. So yeah, and you
Thanks.
can just, you should be able now to,
Thanks, Louise.
to control it there.
You're a pro at this now, Louise.
I haven't done it in ages, but here, we'll do our best. Right, handing over to Stephen.
Thanks, Louise. Guys, welcome. Thanks for linking in to get a bit more information on what the whole one-stop shop service is about. Just a brief introduction. I'm Stephen Farrell and I'm part of the management team in the National Retrofit Directive. I kind of, a part of my job is looking after the one-stop shop service. Just a bit about what we do. I won't spend too long on the first 4 or 5 slides. A lot of it, you know, we're a government agency and we partner with homeowners such as Kieran, businesses such as Core Retrofit and Caroline. And thanks, guys, for linking in and helping us here today, just to kind of develop sustainable ways to meet our energy demand and to create a cleaner energy future and so forth. In terms of SEAI's role, and they're all very much aware of it. We're driving towards low carbon energy futures, need to use less energy. So we're focusing on retrofitting our fabric and maintaining the heat within our house and reducing our energy demand and bills. And a big thing is looking for secure energy and driving that, moving away from gas and oil boilers as such. And we all know after the last 36, 24 months in terms of things that are happening in Russia and Ukraine and the insecurity there in terms of fuel, home fuel and so forth. In terms of real high level stuff so people can visualize what we're trying to do, we're trying to reduce our carbon emissions by 40% compared to 2018. We're trying to upgrade 500,000 homes to B2, and we're trying to upgrade old heating systems, fossil fuel heating systems with heat pumps to a number of 400,000. So that just gives us a sense of the challenge and so forth. And in terms of all of government backing between now and 2030, a lot of policy documents and pathways have been cleared, so everyone knows the task at hand and the support that's there from government between now and 2030. Just focusing in now while we're here, the whole one-stop shop service and the whole energy upgrade side of things. Just the main principle that can be taken across whatever you're doing in your home in terms of an energy retrofit. You need to assess where your house is at from day one. So you can get that via our BER assessors, or if you go down the one-stop shop route, our home energy assessment. And that tells you the position your house is at in terms of a G, if it's very inefficient in terms of energy efficiency, or if it's an A1, which is your best energy efficiency. Then the next step is to work towards containing the heat within your house. So insulating the fabric, putting a quilt in the attic along the wall so that heat isn't escaping through the wall. And then following that, so reducing your energy demand, and then following that, meeting that reduced energy demand with a renewable heat source. So in terms of the first step, if you go on our website, and that's a link there, SEAI grants, home energy upgrades, you'll come across 3 channels that you'll see, 3 strands. And the first strand there is the free energy upgrade. So that's nearly a first port of call if homeowners are in receipt of certain social welfare payments, the fuel allowance, one parent family income support, domiciliary care allowance, 7 or 8 of them on the website. It's to check that if you're eligible for that support or not. And that's detailed nicely on our website. But the main one I'll focus on today is the one-stop shop service. It's a service that we kind of brought into place since February 2022, and it looks at bringing your house up to a B1 or better rating and one go and one complete upgrade solution. And it's managed by the team here internally and with a registered panel of one-stop shops. And the outcome is that the home hits a B2 rating at the end, and you get a BER uplift of 100 in terms of the primary energy. So that's the one-stop shop service, and there's about 12 energy efficiency measures that we support there. It generally starts off if people have a budget of 25, 30K, and then we add the grant on top of that, and that could get you into the ballpark, but it's a house by house basis in terms of the cost to do the work. If people want to upgrade their home in a piecemeal fashion over a 2 to 3 year period with no B2 barrier at the end of it, you can go down our individual energy upgrade route. But instead of the one-stop shop managing, the homeowner manages their own energy upgrade and they select their own contractor. So if you're looking to do the project once as a whole house retrofit, it's the one-stop shop service. If you want to address it due to budget and other priorities on a piecemeal fashion over a 2 to 3 year period or even longer, it's the individual energy upgrade route. In terms of the measures that are supported, so there's about 10, 12 measures there that are supported under the one-stop shop service. And that's what we're taking the approach. This is a whole house retrofit. So we're looking at the windows and doors, mechanical ventilation, heating systems, and so forth. Whereas the individual energy upgrade, which is formerly known as the Better Energy Homes, they direct people possibly to the most impactful measures and present grant amounts for them. And in terms of your wall and roof insulation, where 60% of your energy loss is through the walls and the roof. So we're focusing people to focus their minds on the most impactful measures in terms of the individual energy upgrade stream. So the one-stop shop service, so it's open for private homeowners and private landlords. So they're the people who can avail of the one-stop shop service. It supports multiple upgrades to get your home to a B2 energy rating in one go. There's a wide variety of grants, and I'll take it briefly through the grant table and the grant amounts and where to find those grant amounts in the next slide or two. In terms of the one-stop shop service, it focuses on affordability. So you pay for the works net of the eligible grant. So an example of that would be if the works cost 60,000 and the grant is 20,000, you as the homeowner have to find 40. So you're not trying to find 60K, you just have to find net. So that feeds into that whole affordability, making it more affordable. Another key point in terms of the one-stop shop service is it's a fully managed solution from start to finish. So the one-stop shop service, registered one-stop shop comes in and gives you a home energy assessment, which is a knowledge report in terms of where you go, the steps to bring your house up to a B2, the costs associated with that, and the BER pathway. They also organise contractors. They project manage the job, they coordinate it, they apply for your grant, and so forth. And then they do a follow-up BR at the end, and they do aftercare tasks following on. So it's a full end-to-end, it's an end-to-end project for them. As I said before, the home needs to hit a B2 at the end of the works. The home must be built and occupied before 2011 to be eligible. And the reason for that being is that homes built 2011 or beyond are already at a very good standard in terms of the energy efficiency. And you can contact our one-stop shops via our website. Now, I'll just talk you through a step A, B, C, D to getting to that part of the website. So that's just a print screen of our website. Under grants, you can go to the step B there is home grants, then the one-stop shop service, and then find a one-stop shop. There you can see, I hope you can see it clearly enough, we have 17 registered one-stop shops linked to their websites. You can go in and see, I suppose, the services they provide, the previous work they've done, case studies and so forth. Contact numbers for each one-stop shop, and then the regions they service. There's 17 one-stop shops there. It's a service that's growing. It was 5, and over the past 12 months, it's grown to 17, which is really good in terms of supply chain growth and the network of subcontractors building out from those main registered one-stop shops. And we anticipate this growth will continue. So aiming for 20 plus by the end of the year, and hopefully there'll be 23 come the end of January. So that's where we're seeing in terms of the registrations coming through, and other one-stop shops interested in delivering the service. And all that will increase options from homeowners, it'll increase competitiveness, and ultimately value for money, which is very important. In terms of the home energy assessment, so the first part is selecting a one-stop shop. The second part is getting that knowledge in terms of what do I do, where do I start. This is all, there's a lot of information to kind of navigate through. So the one-stop shops will organize home energy assessment. Okay, and we're hearing back from a lot of the one-stop shops, from the initial inquiry to the home energy assessment report in your hand, 4 to 6 weeks. Now, it can be more given the area or demand at a particular time, but it's just to give people a bit of an expectation on time frame. The home energy assessment will cover a BR assessment and the important dwelling reports that are associated with that. Your homeowner outcome, so where you want to get the house to, be it a B1 or an A1. They do a light technical design and a pathway to the B2, which is important so you can visualize the steps each measure will bring you to. They'll do a heat pump technical analysis for you, and importantly, they'll give you an idea of cost. So there's a standalone grant of 350 linked to the home energy assessment. So for example, again, if a home energy assessment comes to €800, you pay 450, and we grant aid the one-stop shop the 350, and that grant is payable even if you don't proceed with any work. So it gives you a comprehensive report to make a decision on, and that decision may be I need to wait for a period of time or go down a different route, but you don't have to proceed with the work to avail of that grant. Just focusing in on two important parts of a standard home energy assessment that I like, and it paints a good picture for the homeowner, is a pathway to get to that cost optimal B2. And it says there your starting point is a D2. Then you upgrade your fabric, comes to a D1. You change your windows there, point number 3, step 3, it's a C2. All the way down to getting your heat pump installed, which will bring you to that B2 mark. And if you want to go to the A rated, there's an option there of solar PV. So you get a sense of what measures are included in the package to bring your house from a D2 to an A3. The next part of the HEA, and I hope you can this is legible, is just the cost associated with each of these measures. So you can get a sense of, if I go down a particular route, with all these measures, it'll come to, in this example, it's 65,000, okay? And then on the last column, you'll see the grants assigned by SEAI to the one-stop shop, which will come off your bill up front. So that's 29,300 in terms of grants. And then the energy credits associated, which is linked to your energy providers, in this case is 2,400. So that means you as a homeowner need to try and work to find the 33,400, which is it's a sizable amount of money, but at least you're getting a realistic picture of what it takes to bring the house up to that particular level. And you can go from there. So that's just a bit of a demonstration in terms of how the grants are deducted up front, reducing the cost that you have to find from 65,000 down to 33.5. I won't go through this in detail, but you'll find it on our website. It goes down through the different grants associated with the upgrade of a house. As you can see, it's broken down into the different 4 typologies: detached, semi-D, mid-terrace, and apartment, and so on. And you can have a look down through each of them. I think the maximum grant you can get if you got a full entire upgrade that included solar, thermal, and everything maxed out is in the order of 38k. So it's significant. But the average grant we're seeing coming through is in the order of 22k, because a lot of those measures mightn't be applicable and so forth. But it helps generate a works order in terms of what needs to be done to bring that home up to a B2, and you can simply calculate the grant money that you need to put into it. So the last step is carrying out the works. So the one-stop shop is fully responsible for the energy efficiency upgrade. That includes the design, the warranties, the commission, the quality assurance, the grant application, and so forth. We would say, especially the market we're in, contact a number of one-stop shops and just to get assurance on particular quotes. Like everything else, 3 quotes will give you a good idea and a bit of assurance that you can move forward comfortably. In terms of managing expectation on commencement dates, I suppose it'll depend from one-stop shop to one-stop shop, depending on where they are with their leads and their busyness and their work schedules. But it's nearly dictated by window orders a lot of the time, which can be 6 to 8 weeks, and they'll go from there. But it'll also dictate in terms of how much work that one-stop shop has on. So ask those questions at the start so the expectations are being managed. Just for reassurance, the one-stop shop must utilize SEAI registered installers as well for the heat pumps, wall insulation, roof insulation, and so forth. So it's that registered kind of cohort of contractors who are aware of the high-spec technical requirements and the quality assurance checks. If you're doing a retrofit work with extension work that requires an architect, it's key, and Caroline may touch on this, that the architect, the homeowner, and the builder are brought on board at early stage. That's critical, that suddenly the one-stop shop doesn't come in 20% way through the project. Just to give you an idea of the measures, 98% of our applications to date have a heat pump and 88% window upgrades. That's just focusing on the 2 most popular measures. In the vast majority of cases, there's no need to move out of the property. And a lot of the one-stop shops are very skilled at kind of installing a new heating system and windows and doors kind of in a manner where there's minimum disruption for the homeowner, and it's a project that can be managed and so forth. It's just to give people that ease of mind in terms of the whole retrofit and them working around a home that's occupied. In terms of our output to date, we've 1,231 applications supported since it started in February 2022, and this year we've touching 900. So you can see the scale from 300 last year to 900. So the scale of output is increasing, and we aim for the supply chain to grow to 23 by the end of January, which it'll give options for homeowners. It'll drive competitiveness and so forth, and it's the way we need it to go. We need to grow the supply chain, given that 500,000 magic number for 2030. In terms of, just to give people an idea of costs. Now, how long is a piece of string? Every house is different, but what we did was we looked at the first 363 homes in the system and the invoice costs associated with these private home upgrades. And if you can see it here, the average upgrade I think was from an E1 to an A2, but just focusing in, say, on the semi-detached. So in this case, the cost of works was 60k, the top right there. The grant amount was 21,694. So the average cost to the homeowner that they had to find was 38,598. And if you live in a detached house, you can see that worked example at the bottom as well. So 64,500 was the average cost. The grant in this case came to 24,000. And the average cost to the homeowner was 40,408. So it just gives you a sense of based on invoice costs within the system, over 363 of them, that this is the average cost coming back and so forth. And there's 4 typologies there where a lot of people can relate to and so forth. And the last slide I have is just to give people an idea of, like, there can be a lot of narrative out there in terms of very high quotes and so forth. And a lot of this work is extensive, and a lot of homeowners do use the opportunity to do elements of building works, and sometimes that can muddle up the cost to energy retrofit, the old 2011 side of it. So what we did an exercise looking at those 363 private homes, and 4% of them had a cost of less than 30k. 30% was between 30 and 50. 41%, as you can see there, was between 50 and 75, and then there was 25% greater than the 75k mark. So it's just to give people a sense of the ranges that are coming in and the percentages associated with that, and so forth. Okay, that's me. It's just a brief overview on the one-stop shop service. I hope you found it useful, and it kind of answered, it honed in on certain areas and queries that you had in your mind in terms of where do I start and roughly what will this cost and what's the first step and so forth.
Thanks a million, Stephen. That was brilliant. Lots of great questions coming in, and just a reminder to continue to put your questions in the Q&A box. As I said, loads of really interesting ones. So we're going to hand over to Carolyn Ashe Brady now from Core Retrofit, who's going to tell us a little bit more. Thanks,
Great. And thank you, guys. Can you confirm that you can see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we can, yeah. And you can move it okay,
Okay,
and everything, Caroline, you can.
Yeah, I'm just double check that now. So thank you to SEAI for inviting me on to speak to all the homeowners today. And I'm going to, some of the things, I suppose in my slides, there's a little correlation between myself and Steve. And so what I'll do is, I promise I won't go over what Stephen has said too much, but I just want to bring everybody through the one-stop shop process and what you can expect when you ring a one-stop shop or contact them. But understand that there's currently 17 one-stop shops, and there's nuances around how we deliver the one-stop shop program. And so what I'm presenting today is how Core work. There are some of our colleagues, other one-stop shops, work slightly differently, but they're nuances. There's not a huge difference, so I'll do my best. Now, just making sure that slide is not moving on for me.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, yeah, you should just be, Stephen he's just done it, so he might be able to.
Can you move that there, Caroline?
Sorry about this now, guys. Oh, there we go. Did you move that, Stephen, or did I?
No, you moved that.
That's you.
Okay,
No
okay.
problem.
So I'm Caroline Ashe Brady, and I'm the director here at the Core Group. And I suppose just a little bit about Core, just to put in context for everybody. We are based in Kilnalek. We have 2 strands of our business. We manufacture insulation materials for the Irish construction industry. We're an Indigenous Irish-owned company, and you can see us up there in the lovely Cavan countryside. The second part of our business is the one I'm talking to you about today, which is Retrofit. So our story began as about supplying materials into the construction industry, both for new build and for retrofit. And when we were supplying products into the retrofit industry, moving into the being service providers for retrofit was a very easy fit for us. So you will find us working on the one-stop shop, the Better Energy Community Scheme with SEAI, the Warmer Home Scheme, and we also do retrofit works in Northern Ireland as well. And I suppose our whole vision is to make retrofit as easy as possible for our customers. When we're talking today and about anything else, it's complicated. Retrofit is complicated. We're dealing with buildings of many different ages, many the condition of the buildings are different. And at all points, we have to make sure that when we're doing deep retrofits, that the building physics is not impacted in any negative way, that the health of the building, that's key, the health of the building after the retrofit works is maintained or improved, and that it doesn't impact the health of the occupants afterwards. So that's just a little bit about ourselves. We've completed over 4,000 retrofits to date since we started on this journey, and we are actively working. We were SEAI's first one-stop shop registered. So we have been working on the program now for well over a year, and we have, I suppose, felt all the pains along with our customers at the early stage, and always looking to improve the process and the service. So I suppose what's important to know that there's many different types of works that you might be looking at, and many different people, when they're looking at the works that they're doing to their house, there'll be different phases. So some people will have just bought a property and it's an older property and they're looking to do it up. And while they're doing it up, they're saying, well, we might as well look at doing some energy efficiency works. That you may also be looking at saying, okay, well, we want to do an extension to our property, and while we are investing that much money and while we are doing those building works, we'll bring up the energy efficiency of the existing building. But again, there mightn't be extension works, there might be just some renovations internally where people are saying, well, we'll make an open plan area. And again, you might be looking at a vacant or derelict property. And all of these buildings, I suppose, are suitable for one-stop shop and can be facilitated through the one-stop shop model. Now, in all of the ones that I've mentioned there, Core do work with customers doing all of those different types of things. Some one-stop shops may not get involved with customers working on extension. So again, you just have to ring the one-stop shops and you'll find the ones that are working specific to your requirements. But that's typically the types of works that we're seeing. So we're working with, and as Stephen alluded to this, we are working with architects. If you come to us and you have an architect and a builder, we'll facilitate you through the one-stop shop process. Some people come along, they haven't got their architect yet and they haven't got their builder yet, and we work with them in networking them with the people in the industry that we work with. And so it doesn't matter, I suppose, where you are in your journey or what you're doing, or you might think my house isn't suitable, or it's not the right stage, or this works are too detailed, or I have this big extension, I don't think I'd qualify for a grant, or I have a vacant home, I'm already getting the vacant home grant, I can't get the one-stop shop grant, and you can. And so it's about being early in the process and making sure that you get talking to a one-stop shop to understand from the outset where you can get the supports. As a business owner, when we are growing and we're doing anything we're looking to do to grow the business, we look out for government supports around it. We look under every rock and stone. And so for you as homeowners, it's about maximizing the grants that are available and the money that's available to you when you're doing these works. And as we say, make sure that you don't leave a penny on the table. If it's available to you, you need to source it and find it. So Stephen's already alluded to or spoken about the home energy assessment, but I won't labour on this. When you ring Core and a lot of the other ones stuff, so what we'll do before we ever go into the home energy assessment process is our team will typically ask you for your whereabouts you are in the country, and we'll pull up your house on Google Maps. So we want to be looking at your property. We'll ask you questions about do you know the type of wall structure, just things that you might know about the building, because ultimately what we're trying to make sure is that if you go down the home energy assessment route, your home is suitable for work. So you don't want to get the assessment done and realize actually maybe I don't the home doesn't qualify, or it's I'm not willing to pull up floors or whatever it is. So we're trying to get from the outset a really good understanding of what type of home you're in now and what sort of grants you qualify for. We'll also talk to you very early on in this, but before the home energy assessment, about the type of budget that you have. And we will, and based on your budget, we will advise you on the most appropriate grant route for you to take. If you're ticking all the boxes and it looks like you are suitable to be a one-stop shop customer, then we will in core, it's mandatory that our customers proceeding to works do the home energy assessment. And look, the home energy assessment is about going out to your property, seeing what is there, what we can do to upgrade it, and coming up with the best option for your home based around what you want to achieve as well. And so the idea of the home energy assessment then is that if you get it done with Core, you can then bring it to another one-stop shop. And so it's just the first step in the journey. You don't have to proceed after getting a home energy assessment, but this is okay, in order to do it, in order to achieve the B2 and the 100 kilowatt uplift, or a lot of customers want to achieve an A rated property, these are the things you have to do in order to get to that level. And then after that, you'll have an estimated cost, and you'll know more or less a range in terms of what it would cost you to do those energy efficiency works. If you have an extension, we go a little bit further in this for our clients. So we will ask you to provide us with the plans of the proposed building that you're doing, and we make sure that the post-B or the output that you're looking for at the end takes into account the existing building and the new building, because you want both parts. There's only one BER for the building at the end. So we will design the heat pump assessment, the heat pump around the existing building and the new building. So that's really important from the outset if you're getting an extension, that your home energy assessment takes into account that extension as well. So once the home energy assessment is back, it's an indication of where you are, what can be done to the property, what you want to do with the property. We might get there and one of the things with suspended timber floors, for example, is, well, can we get the performance right to put the heat pump into the house? And you may say, look, I don't want to pull up my floor. I want to do everything to get to where I need to be and put in the heat pump. So we're always working with the client to make sure we come up with the best solution. Of course, there may be a situation where, look, we have to do the floor. We'd recommend the floor to you and that there's no other alternative. So once you come back to Core, one of two things can happen with Core. You will come back to us and you will say, I actually have a builder. I've gone down the road. I've gotten my design. My builder is a really trusted friend and neighbor, or I know lots of people who have used this builder and we really, really want to use this builder and we understand the quality of the works. At that point, Core will engage with that builder and we will talk to them about what is required from the contractor to working with a one-stop shop. And we're making sure that from the outset, the contractor is very, very comfortable to work with a one-stop shop and to make sure that you get your grants. We also have the situation where you come and you don't have a contractor. So we work with contractors throughout the country. And the contractors that we work with specialize in building. So that's why they can do both extensions for our clients, they can do renovation works, so they don't just do energy efficiency works. And so if you're happy after the HEA to get a detailed price from Core, you're assigned to one of the local approved contractors in your area. That contractor will come to your property and they will assess it and have a good look, because sometimes what happens at the BER assessment stage, BER assessors are not builders. They are gathering the data from your house, but a builder can go in, a contractor can go in and say that something's just not possible. A lean-to roof, or you mightn't have a dormer. So there's lots of different things that the contractor can see. At that point, we also provide the contractor with your HEA report, and we go through the HEA report and we list all the different specifications for the contractor to make sure that at the end you do get the uplift that's required for this grant. The contractor will provide a price to core. We then check that price against all the different benchmark pricing that we have in the system. So we know what's a normal price, and we know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in this space. So we in the background will negotiate with the contractors on your behalf. And at that point, that's when we will send over a full detailed pricing to the customer. So I suppose at this point where one of two things happen, you will be speaking with the core team and going through your works in detail, and you'll have lots of questions, and we'll go back and forth, and we might say, okay, well, I don't actually, I had initially thought I wasn't going to do solar, but with the supports around solar and what's going to happen, can I pop that in? And so things can change at this point, I suppose, up to the letter of offer point. Some customers may decide that the works at that stage they don't have the budget, they might want to go the single grant measure route, and others will want to proceed. At that point, you're moving to a letter of offer phase. So this is where we're checking with SEAI, confirming the grants that are available to you. And we are issuing, we go online, we submit an application to SEAI on your behalf, and they confirm with the uploaded H8 to their site, they confirm that yes, you can get a grant for these measures. And we're essentially saying, okay, given the cost, given confirmation from SEAI, this is the grant amount, this is the amount that you will have to pay. And as Stephen said, the grant letter of offer will identify the net amount you have to pay. So the one-stop shop waits for the grant amount. So as Stephen said, if your work's a 70,000 and you get a 20,000 euro grant, you pay 50,000. And we wait for the 20,000 from government, and we will pay your contractor. In the instance with core, we do retain a small amount from the contractor until the grant drawdown, and that's just because SEAI will do some inspections and work, and we want to, I suppose, we don't want any contractor not coming back to finish any work. So they're there till the end, I suppose. Around grant eligibility, again, Stephen has spoken about some of these already. What's important to know is that once we submit the grant application on the day that SEAI confirms. So if I put in your grant application today, this morning, you'll have your letter of offer pretty much immediately from SEAI. That means after the 12th of September, we can start to spend money on your works. Your works shouldn't commence before that grant day. However, if you were doing building works and you're doing an extension, you can commence them because the works around your extension are non-eligible costs. So it's just really important date, and we manage this with all our customers. So you can't have paid for your windows before your grant application, your grant letter of offer date. And grants can be claimed for eligible costs only. And Stephen spoke about them: your windows, your heat pump, your insulation. The post BER and the uplift must be achieved, and the onus is on us on the customer, the homeowner, the customer, the one-stop shop, and the contractor to achieve this. If you have a contract as a customer, if we had solar panels in as a requirement to meet the uplift, and you came in afterwards and said the works are ongoing, I don't want solar panels, in that instance, the entire grant is risked because we must get that uplift. All subcontractors that work on doing any of the works must be registered to SEAI. SEAI do not support any second-hand products. And you cannot have previously received a grant for the same measure. So if you got a cavity wall insulation grant in the past, you may not necessarily qualify for EWI grant. If you got an attic grant in the past, again, you're not going to get, if you wanted to put more insulation in, you're not going to get an additional grant for that. The works must be completed within 12 months of the grant offer date, which is very important, and that's why it's important to get moving early, especially on those works where you've extensive building works. Remember, if you're doing extension works, at the end of the project, if you put in a heat pump, the heat pump is servicing both the extension and the existing building, and we can't close off the project until the heat pump is commissioned. So both the extension works and the work to the existing building need to finish at the same time. They all need to be finished before the grant can be drawn down. The works now, that doesn't obviously apply to putting in kitchens or your stairs, things like that. It's all of those measures that are grants aided. We work to SEAI's domestic standards, so they must comply with that. We must comply completely with current building regulations, and I actually that point to the bottom, I think SEAI are changing that. The pre-BER, your BER must be within 12 months, must have been done within 12 months. I think there's going to be a little bit of a movement on that from SEAI, so Stephen might speak to that in a few moments when I'm finished. So the one thing, I suppose, the biggest success factor that we found for any project once you're getting onto site is this pre-start meeting. And we make it mandatory in our pre-start meeting that the contractor, the architect, ourselves, and you, the customer, are all there with an agreed agenda. And essentially, what we want, the idea of the pre-start meeting is that everybody is on the same page as to what needs to happen, when it needs to happen by. So, and this for us is a key success tool. So some of the items on the agenda, but this is not, um, there's certainly more, but the timelines for delivery, when we need to start and when we need to finish, everybody needs to know that SEAI deadline for drawing down the grants. We discuss the construction works in full so that the homeowner knows what to expect. As Stephen alluded to there, some customers, the majority of customers in retrofit only works can stay at home. Extensions can be a little bit more, typically a homeowner will have to move out in that situation. So for you, the homeowner, it's really important that your finish dates are kept to as close to as possible, because no doubt you're in rented accommodation or you're living with a family, and it's a very, very stressful period when you have to move out of your home, and so in some instances people have just bought the home, so you're waiting to move in and maybe renting somewhere else. Lead times for materials and potential risks to the project need to be discussed. We talk about health and safety plan for the site, the role of the PSDP, the PSCS, your responsibilities around health and safety. We also have an environmental management plan for the site that is discussed, so that no waste is floating off into the neighbours and causing potential environmental risks or health and safety risks. The final agreement on the products that will be installed. So that may very well have been done already, but this meeting offers the opportunity to say, right, okay, this is what's been agreed. Is everybody happy about it? The render color. So it's really important, because the EWI can be one of the, as soon as the windows are done, the EWI, the external wall insulation, sorry, the acronyms I'm using. So as soon as your windows are in, your EWI, your external wall insulation will start. And when the contractor is putting in those price, that color that you want and that finish that you want in your building, it's really important that that's signed off in time. The type of window you want, the color of the windows, again, double checking, have we got everything right here? So no mistakes. Site specific technical issues, the documents required, and just how communication on the site will happen. We do go through again the payments plan, when the contractor will be paid. And so that's just to make sure that they're fully up to speed. Again, just double checking everything. All interaction between the contractor and core, we manage it on one project management tool. So that means that everything, all the information about your house and what's happening is in one place for the core team to see and for us to see. And then on all the closeout documents, we give you, the homeowner, access to all the photographs that have been taken on your site and all the documentation, so that it's there for you to see, download, and keep. So once the work begins on site, there's a few things that need to happen. What we typically will be in contact with the contractor. It depends on how quickly your project is going to move. The really quick ones would be in contact bi-weekly and just getting an update. What we're looking for is we want to do 2 to 3 inspections on your site. We want to do a mid-works inspection. So once the first major works are completed, we want to be on site. Now, a lot of will have happened on your site at that stage, but we are going onto site and we're making sure that the first works were completed to the correct standard. We're also getting a very, very good idea at that stage of any potential issues, and we issue snags and inspection reports to the contractor. So throughout the project, we're doing more checks on site. We do random health and safety checks on site as well, random environmental checks. But ultimately, at the final quality inspection is key. This is where we're giving a big, massive, detailed report, snag report to the contractor. And so we use SEAI's quality assurance program. We're coming out and checking your property based on what they are checking your property on. So the two mirror. We issue snag report via our system, so the contractor gets it directly onto their phone that these are all the snags that you have to complete, and they have to complete those within 7 working days. We will also ask the homeowner to attend that final inspection, and any specific issue that you have, we're looking for you to raise it at that point. So again, we can get the contractor to address it. One thing I will say to anybody listening is snags in the construction industry are normal, and major defects are not. So little things around attention to detail, and specifically we'd find snags around the heat pump and just the things that are best practice, we know. And we're in a world where heat pumps are going into properties, and everybody's still learning. The industry's still learning about heat pumps, but we know what's required. We know best practice, and we're going in and making sure that that's being delivered on your project, and that your heat pump is commissioned in full. There's a load of paperwork SEAI requires, so we manage all of that, working with the contractor to make sure every single piece of paper is submitted, collected, and submitted on your behalf to SEAI. So we move into the closing phase. What you need there, and again, this is the core team. The One Stop Shop will organise this with the contractor. We're doing a final BER. Everything is commissioned. So if you have a ventilation system is commissioned, your heat pump is commissioned, any electrical works are signed off by a recce. If you've done air tightness measures, we'll be doing a final air tightness test on your house. That's, I suppose, those little things are around design for performance. So we're making sure that the measures that have been installed in your house are going to deliver after the fact. Once that's all finished, you will sign a declaration of works form. So that's your sign off to SEAI that I did receive all of these works and I'm happy with the works, and we submit that to SEAI, and it takes SEAI, depending, 2 to 6 weeks to make a payment. They will do random house inspections. So at the moment, that's running about 50% of every house. So we've checked it numerous times, and then SEAI will come in after that. And again, about 50% of the projects at the moment are being inspected. If they find something, they will raise the reworks with us, and we will organise with the contractor to get those completed. So just a little I suppose, recap. So the one-stop shop services, typically what you will get from all the different contractors, the HEA completion, the product specification, we'll match the we will introduce you to a contractor if you don't have a contractor. We'll train your own contractor. If they've never worked on the one-stop shop before, we'll engage with architects on your behalf and other industry professionals. We will facilitate. We also have a service where we will apply for the vacant and derelict homes grant with you, so we can make sure that you are getting the most out of both of your but optimizing all grants available to you. We'll do pricing and grant application. We'll do the project start kickoff meeting with quality management, finance management. We do the post BER and the grant drawdown. And so I suppose the first step is, in any of this, is to call our office. Glenn and Vanessa are there every day. They are the first people you will talk to in core, and they will determine if you're where you are in terms of eligibility, if the one-stop shop is for you, and get you started on that process with a HEA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. That was brilliant.
Thanks.
If you can just take down your presentation and
Yeah, I
lovely.
think I
Thank you.
have. Yeah.
Super. So just quickly, I'm going to chat to Kieran, who is our homeowner who's been through all of this. Thanks a million for taking time out to chat to us today, Kieran. Are you still there?
I am, yeah, no bother. Sorry.
Perfect. Do you want to turn on your camera maybe?
Yeah, it's on there. Oh, yeah.
Super, thank you. So Kieran, can you tell us a little bit about your own house? Kind of before it was upgraded, kind of how old is it? Kind of what was the BER rating if there was one? What was the condition it was in?
I suppose we live in rural County Meath. It was a standard land commission cottage, large sitting room, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms off that, all kind of centrally, I suppose position, and then there was kind of a lean-to kitchen and that kind of stuff. So it's in terms of what we were doing, the heat was an oil-fired cooker, classic kind of Stanley range. We had a solid fuel stove, a Stanley solid fuel stove, and 8 or 9 radiators heating the house, and that was it. There was a couple of upgrades over the years that have been done, maybe double glazed windows and that, but they would have been kind of old, very old upgrades in terms of, would have been probably 20 years ago. They would have been done. So the BER in the house at the time was a G rating, which is the lowest rating, or it's just about on the scale. We were living in the house. It wasn't a vacant house around. We were living in it. It was I suppose it was livable. It was cold. It was cold, especially in the winter, and especially at times over cold when I was working from home. And you just weren't going to be able to put the heating on all day, every day. So you were kind of hopping off the stove and stuff like that. So we were doing a full. The idea was to do a full renovation of the house, add on an extension, all that. And I suppose that's where core kind of came into it when we contacted them first over, which would have been the original. I think maybe Carla might correct me, the warmer home scheme or something to do with warmer homes. So that's where we and myself and Core got involved back in 2021. We had been granted plan permission and stuff like that to do a retrofit or full renovation. So 2021 we started contacting Core, and then our building work started in March 22.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit, Kieran, just about the process? So you decided to go with Core, and kind of how was the process? How long was it? Kind of what was involved in it?
Yeah, so we first got involved with Core through a friend of ours who'd done something similar in a house in Maynooth. They'd done windows and some other measures, individual measures through Core. So that's where the name obviously came from. And then I think I met them at one of the self-build shows, introduced myself and all that kind of stuff. So we were definitely engaged in that at that point. And then when we went to apply with Core, we filled in a quick online kind of, as Caroline said, it was kind of a quick kind of ready reckoner of just your details, stuff like that, and a few bits about the information about the house, or what we knew, is the windows are double glazed, what's the heating source. And they came back to us in a day or so with a contact and just kind of walked you through the process. So essentially, after engaging with them properly, we went, I suppose it took a step further, and we got into the plans of the house, what our plans were, what the architect's plans were, and we had a contractor on board already who was SEAI registered from previous, but he hadn't done the Core on board. He wasn't a Core. He hadn't done a one-stop shop or anything like that. So our contractor came on board with Core as well, and between the 3 parties, if you want to call it that, ourselves, Core, and the contractor, we put together I suppose what were the upgrades? What upgrades were we going to be doing to the house? The heating system, your windows, your insulation, heat recovery, all that kind of stuff. And that went through to a kind of, I suppose, a quotation point where our contractor gave us a quotation for the works or the upgrade works, and then you go forward to the SEAI through Core, and they essentially offer you the letter of offer is your grant amount against your building works. I suppose you're the difference between the two is what you have to pay.
Brilliant. And what works did you end up getting then?
We got the full. We got the full works. Our total cost, I think, came to about 65,000. So you're talking windows, doors, heat recovery. You're talking your heat pump, your insulation, external wall insulation, air tightness, everything. There's about 12 measures, I think, on our whole list, and we got granted, I think it's 33,000 towards the 65,000. So the difference, so we had to come up with the difference, obviously. So we're just under about half of what the total upgrades were in the grant. So that was very welcome at the time. Obviously, we're doing a major job, so 33,000 is not to be sniffed at, and no, we're delighted with it.
Brilliant. And what's the home like now to live in? How does it feel to live there? What are the biggest differences that you've noticed in terms of comfort or savings or things like that?
Well, I suppose it's a new house. Our house is pretty much a new house. We maintain some level of we maintain some walls from the old house and some item kind of the structurally of the old house, and incorporated that into the new house. But throughout the whole house, it's an extension. Or throughout the whole house, it feels like a new house. There's no, obviously this time of year now, it's lovely this time of year. I don't think the temperatures dropped below 20 degrees over the last 6 months. We moved in about 10 weeks ago, but before that, we'd obviously been in the house kind of doing when we got back off the builder, doing our own bits and bobs. It's I suppose at this point it's maintenance free. There's no interaction really with the heat pump or anything like that, or the heat recovery. The house kind of runs itself. After the heat pump's commissioned by the plumber and the manufacturer, like it's set up to go. So apart from we'll find out in, hopefully not for a while, but in the next few weeks we'll find out when the temperature drops outside.
Yeah, that'll be the real test.
Exactly, yeah. But at the moment, like the heating is essentially off. There's no call for heat. But with the level of insulation and stuff like that, the house, and obviously the solar gain, the house is kind of sitting at about 22 degrees during the day, and that doesn't really change. And then the heat recovery is there as well, so that's actually blowing. That's obviously that's putting in some cooler outside air into it, so it's sitting at about 22 degrees the whole time. So it's very, very comfortable. Look, it's a new house. We're delighted with it, so I can't say much more about it.
Brilliant. And from your experience then, Kieran, just maybe finally, is there any advice you'd have for anyone on the call that's maybe on the fence about going through the one-stop shop? Kind of what clinched it for you, or any kind of advice that maybe you'd do differently?
I suppose from the start, we had a house design before we had a grant idea or anything like that. I suppose if I was to go back and do it again, I would probably, in a perfect world, you'd maybe design your house around those kind of, maybe not the, I suppose the measures you're doing, the 10 or 12 measures we did, there could be some sort of liaison between the architect and POR or the BER and all that kind of stuff. Like we were doing insulation, external insulation anyway, because we wanted to maximize the size of the indoor, I suppose the indoor size of the house. Like you'd be taking probably 4 to 6 inches off the inside of the room, in every room in the old part of our house, the old cottage part of it. But through POR and that, we decided to go with the other route and do external insulation, which and then we upgraded that again when we actually started the job. We went for 150 mil outside boards, which like they're a fairly hefty board, but you're not losing anything in the room. So that was a nice thing to learn through POR, to be able to do that. It wouldn't have, like obviously the architect had internal insulation, so that was a benefit of it. No, overall, I was delighted. Like in fairness, everyone we liaised with in Core was fantastic. I think we started with Maggie throughout the whole process, and she was there throughout the whole thing. And Lisa then came on board over the last number of months towards the end of the job. So, no, big shout out to Core, in fairness. They were good to us. So, no, it was great.
Brilliant.
And as far as I'm aware, like the contractor, it was fairly straightforward for the contractor as well, having not done the one-stop shop before. Like, as long as everything was, like, he was working to his own schedule, and Core kind of facilitated that between kind of scheduling meetings or scheduling on-site visits or anything like that. And we did get the SEAI, we did get the independent what's the word, inspection as well. So,
yeah.
That was all above board and everything as well. So it was great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kieran. That's been really helpful. I'm aware that we're kind of just a little bit over time, but there's so many questions coming in for all of you. I just want to put just a couple of the most kind of commonly asked and kind of most beneficial. Anything we don't answer, as I said, we will share in an FAQ document afterwards. It'll probably be tomorrow. We'll share the recording, we'll share the slides, and we'll share the FAQ document as well with everyone. Whoever wants to answer this one, if a house is derelict, doesn't have roof, doors, windows, floors, does the house need a BR assessment to apply for a home energy grant, or do you get an exemption?
I'll take that, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen.
The best bet is to look at them on a case-by-case basis. It's obviously on the extremity there, so it's just to be guided by the BR assessor and touch base with the BR help desk. But it's very hard to produce the BR, obviously, if there's no roof or anything. But just to keep everything on board, touch base. The assessor should just touch base with the help desk.
Okay, perfect. And when considering different one-stop shops as well, Stephen, does each one-stop shop have to carry out a home energy assessment, or is it just one?
Ideally, the way it works is initially when the homeowner is interested, they engage with the one-stop shop, and the one-stop shop then they agree the home energy assessment route, and that's completed, and the homeowner avails of the 350 grant. That's a comprehensive report with dwelling reports and so forth. So that should be used in its ideal form as a transferability document to other one-stop shops to price.
Okay.
But all in all, the one-stop shop has to go forward. If they go to another one-stop shop, that one-stop shop has to go forward with confidence that the B2 will be achieved and the uplift will be achieved, because the grant is on that one-stop shop who's taking up the work physically. So they might have to do their own bits of physical verifications type of thing. But there's a lot of information contained within the HEA. So anything the one-stop shop will have to do will be minimal on top of that.
Okay, perfect. Our solar PV panel is part of the scheme and can excess electricity be fed back into the grid?
Yeah, the solar PV is grant supported to the same order as it is on the individual grant support program. And it can, yes, in terms of selling the excess back to the grid, that just has to be done via the homeowner's energy provider.
Perfect. A couple of people asking about kind of specific buildings. I might just take this one as an example. I have a late Georgian house with a lot of insulation work already done on it. The main problem is how to insulate the red brick front, which is a cavity wall. I have not found a good system to do that, which will at the same time not hinder moisture from escaping through the red brick.
Yeah, it's a great question. In terms of moving into the whole traditional home setting, and that homeowner, it's great to hear that awareness out there in terms of when those older walls, they need breathability to maintain their whole structural integrity and so forth. So more than likely, it's a breathable insulation material that'd be required on that wall. Now we're hoping to roll out a traditional home grant scheme over the coming months. And we're just finalising our expert panel within the department, and the Heritage Council is finalising a guidance document, which will provide kind of a step-by-step approach to addressing walls like that and incorporating natural breathable material to insulate those walls safely. So there's guidance coming centrally, and it's relatively imminent over the next two months or so.
Okay, brilliant. A couple of people as well asking, and it's always a popular question, why are replacement of windows and doors only available via the one-stop shop route? Stephen, you might be able to answer that one.
The one-stop shop route is the whole house retrofit solution. Okay, so we're trying to support people to the max extent to upgrade their house to the B2 or better, and to address the house once and to cover all angles of the house. The reason why the windows and doors aren't included in the individual upgrade grant scheme, which is formerly known as the Better Energy Homes, is we want to guide the homeowners towards the most impactful measures based on the budget they have. So those impactful measures would be the walls and roof, which would be 30% on a typical house. Heat loss would come through them. So walls and roofs, that's 60%. If they address the insulation, if they improve the thermal performance of those elements, they're reducing their heat loss possibly by 60%. In terms of windows and doors, you could be looking on a typical house 10 to 15%. So it's worthwhile the homeowner investing their money in the most impactful measures, which is the wall and the roof fabric. Our fear would be they'd spend all their money on windows and doors and they wouldn't get the energy savings that the return on investment.
Yeah, brilliant. Question for Caroline. Is there any follow-up checks done on heat pumps after they're installed to make sure the homeowner is getting the desired values?
Okay, so in that instance, under the guarantee with each heat pump, you need to be getting your heat pump serviced every year. And through servicing, that's where you look after your heat pump. So it's the same with gas and oil boilers. To work at their optimum, they need to be serviced. And the manufacturer of this, if you've gone with a Mitsubishi have service agents who will come to your property every year and service it for you.
Brilliant. A question there as well, Caroline. Do core come up as far as Letterkenny and Donegal?
We do indeed. Yes, we
Brilliant.
do indeed.
Super.
We have our furthest away contractor in Donegal is Brendan up in Buncrana. So.
Super.
Very
Brilliant.
good.
And another person asking, if they were getting in touch with yourselves, Caroline, is it they get in touch with core first and then they don't need to get in touch with SEAI? That's done through you.
Everybody should go through their chosen one-stop shop.
Yeah, brilliant. There's a lot of questions just about heat pumps. So just to put in a little plug for next week, we're also at the same time. I think it's maybe a slightly different time, but it's Wednesday the 20th around lunchtime. We're doing a complete webinar all about heat pumps. We've got a number of heat pump experts. So anyone who's registered for this will automatically receive an invitation to that this afternoon. So do join, and that will be recorded as well. So you can ask all the questions you want about heat pumps next Wednesday. Yeah, lots of questions just about the historical stone walls. We might answer those separately afterwards. Let me just see, if there's any other final questions. Loads of great questions, so thanks to everyone. I think people are still kind of maybe a little bit confused about the home energy assessment versus a BER. If there's a valid BER, is the home energy assessment still performed, or is it necessary? People wondering.
The difference between the BER, it certifies the house from an A to G rating. A being the best, G being the most inefficient, and so forth. The home energy assessment is a document that includes the BER assessment, but also includes a BER pathway to get to the B2, a light technical design, a cost estimate, and so forth. So it's more than a BER assessor. So there's two strands. There's the BER assessment that gets you the A to G rating. Okay. Then if you wanted information on a light technical design and a cost and a plan to upgrade your house to a B2 and a pathway, it's more a comprehensive report that includes a BER, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like the action. It's like the action plan.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I think we might leave it there. I'm conscious that people are probably on this during lunch and have to return to work now. I just want to thank you very much, Stephen, Kieran, and Caroline for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
It's been a really useful session, and I think people will get a lot out of it. So as I said, do join us next Wednesday, where we'll be chatting all about heat pumps, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any very specific heat pump questions that you might have and allay any fears about them as well. So thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a good day.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.